Welcome everyone to the 255th weekly MLP Drawing School live critique stream. Today,
What?
I am William Shatner. No.
No. We're all
Today,
adopting voices?
yeah, it's
Oh,
January 19th.
So Ali can't do like Valley Girl, but
No.
I
My daddy doesn't pay me enough to do this, so...
as always, if you have any art, please fire them at our faces at high velocity. You know the rules.
Wow, dangerous.
The higher velocity.
And so, do we?
Do
Yeah.
we know the rules, though?
Do we? Like, do you know the people who is art speaking to thou? We have from the land down under, somehow awake at this god-awful time for him, fixing up.
Hello, I went to bed and then I woke up again.
Proud of you.
Proud of you.
It's more than most people. More than I can do.
Avoid dying. That's my suggestion. The one that who might never sleep, I believe that's what he's implying, is Fluffy's Eye.
No, I just had to wake up a lot. Who needs sleep anyway? When you're asleep, you can't daydream about ponies.
This is accurate. And last, but certainly not least, we got Aliclaw.
Hello, I'm here. And slightly sane. Just slightly. Poor Chick's the Pokemon of the day? Hell yes!
Yes, I just looked at it. I was like, oh my god. That's why
Best
if you
baby.
heard me gasp, that was why.
Blaziken. Blaziken's best baby. I've always loved my spicy kickin' chicken.
I'm excited for Mudkip. We'll
That's
get
fair.
there.
Are you talking about new flavors of Popeye's chicken, or...
No,
Okay.
we're being Poke nerds.
Okay.
This is what you signed up for.
Is it? Because I think I signed up for horses. Not this horsing around stuff. All right. Well, first up on our agenda of pictures that have been thrown at our faces, we have one by Circuit Main. Top left-hand corner. Oh my gosh. Siggy-diggy-diggy-diggy. That is what my browser just spelt out to me.
It's code.
Yep.
It's trying to give you the secrets of the internet.
That makes sense. So this is art created for a weekly challenge. I'd be interested.
Ooh.
What's the weekly challenge? Is it socks?
Could be. We're always interested in hearing stuff like this. That's pretty cool.
Using green horse. Best color choice. These horses gotta get like tighter fitting socks. As a sock aficionado, at least someone who likes to wear socks often because they keep my toesies warm, good fitting socks are very important. They both make sure that the soles of your feet don't get rubbed too hard while walking on them, and they give a nice comfortable fit. So good fitting socks. That's my suggestion for this horse. Also, then they won't like trip over their own socks. I've done that before. It sucks.
I'm definitely into socks that, act like real life socks that actually fit and just snug around your feet and are comfortable. And like I personally have a pet peeve of like, it's something that people actually do like drawings. If you like drawing it, fine, but some people in this channel have teased me a little bit by the fact that I can't stand seeing people draw baggy socks. It hurts. It makes my soul unhappy. It's not good. I actually want to cringe. Not at this particular, but just like some people will draw them just practically falling straight off the horse, and it's like, no. At least this one has elastic, so that's good. You thought ahead.
What if I was to draw them all like hammer pants?
That's if it's just trousers, then like okay, but socks need to be hugged to the The fabric needs to hug around the body. That's how socks work.
I
But
thought
I
you said
understand the
hugged to
need to.
death, and I was a bit confused and concerned.
It's. I definitely see the. It can be difficult to show that something is fabric while also showing that it's form fitting, and you can do like small details. Like if I were to, oops, no, I'm on the zoom tool. Okay, how do I just get my colors? Okay, there we go. So if I had like a pony leg, looking all leggy, and then I decided to give them a sock, it would be a case of firstly deciding when the sock's going to start, and then pretty much I can just take the leg as it is, but then just like add little details. Like, so there's a constrained joint here, so it's going to have pieces where the fabric is being pulled and constrained around this corner. Same for here, really. And just do little bits, like maybe just a little bump or two, but not too much. Just to show that there are some bits of creases, but it's mostly pretty form fitting. And then when I line up that, it'll all look like it makes sense. Let's see if
Today
I can lock
on the My Little Sock stream.
Haha! It is now part of
Yes.
the sock. This is actually how I color. When I sketch things, I sort of do everything in different colors. So typically, I sketch the body in blue, the mane in red, and clothes in purple. So like this is how it would look usually when I when I do things.
Yeah,
So-
trying to get the creases and stuff for socks right is
Mhm.
difficult. So
Or for any clothes, really.
yeah, so studying fabric is good. There's a few good books and videos and stuff out on there about creases and folds specifically, because different
There was
fabric creases and
there was a
folds in really
point
different ways.
where I was learning to draw, and I sort of tried out fabric drawing, and I sort of got really good at it. And then, proportionately speaking to my general sort of ability levels at the time, I was pretty good at doing fabric. So I had all my characters dressed in like really loose. It looked like someone had just like thrown a spool of fabric over them. Like all their clothes were like super baggy and loose, because to me that's what was attractive clothing. I didn't know anything about fashion really. And so there was just like maximum creasage possible. And then like at some point I just wasn't doing that anymore, and now I don't feel like I can do close creases as easy. I think if I actually compared my art now, it would probably still look better just from general experience gain. But I feel like I struggle with close creases, where at one point I was like, yeah, throw out all those lines, put the gravity in there, and it looks good. Sometimes just going nuts can give you some happy accidents.
So, on this particular picture, what I've done, I'm the blue. I've sort of moved the horn somewhere around here. Normally, you'll see this kind of like an angle coming out of the head,
Mm-hmm.
rather than going more straight up, sort of thing. With the length of the muzzle, your muzzles can be as long or as short as you want. But for this kind of a size head, I would normally make them a bit shorter, just so that they end somewhere around about there. Works for me. With the ear, this line in particular is a pretty tough one. I see a lot of people sort of put it on back on this side of the ear, but I like doing something like this, because there's like this big main bit of the ear. All of this connects together. This is all like one bit of flesh, and so this sort of brings all that together. But then you also have like the interned bit of the ear and all that sort of stuff. So that's just me, though. Everyone draws their ears a bit differently. And with this pose, it's an interesting kind of a pose. It's always a weird kind of a pose when you have the horse kind of on their two legs because it's kind of hard to balance, sort of thing. You'd normally see them if they're in this like two back legs on the ground pose. You'd normally see them with the like balancing up a little bit like that, or something along those lines. You know, leg, and then their two hoofsies, and then something roughly like that. Whereas if they're like fully leaned over, they'll this lean for like a horse or for like quadrupedal creature really puts a lot of like weight that direction. And so what you can do to offset that is you can have this closer hoof in this pose where you're showing off the sock like that or something like that. But then you have this back hoof going way forwards and pushing against the ground. Where does that go? Around something roughly like that. And then providing a bit of stability to the pose. And it's just something that'll probably make the pose feel a little bit more natural than it does right now. But trying out different poses and all sorts of stuff is always fun and always cool. And I like it. And once again, Ali is super good at drawing
No.
and has an example over here.
It's a lot of trial and error. I wish I had a reference right now, basically. I'm just taking what I know from basic shapes to try to figure out a balanced pose. I know something I've learned is that if a character makes sense in a straight line, like if I can put a straight line through the center of a character's head, most likely they'll be stable. I know there's obviously there's caveats to every rule in art. So like the character's doing like a weird lean over, most of the body weight would be on this side, but I could still draw a straight line and somehow feel like, oh yeah, they're perched perfectly fine despite the head, like, I don't know, looking over there. There's little like, I don't know, tips and tricks to kind of get the feeling of stability. So it's like uh yeah, references are where I would find my answers if I was personally trying to figure
Mhm.
out the stability of a pose. And sometimes poses won't be stable. Again, lots of things in art aren't concrete.
You don't have to worry about everything being 100% anatomically and like spatially correct, but it just helps to sort of get things most of the way there.
It's good to keep in mind. Something that's really useful to keep in mind is along all those sorts of lines is the center, quote unquote, center of mass or center of gravity. So like somewhere from here to here will be the main bit of mass of the horse. And it's normally going to be somewhere like around about where the head is, I think. And where that point is, wherever that point is, so say it's like around about here, normally you'll want to have something touching the ground to the right of it, but also to the left of it. So somewhere between where things are touching the ground is where that's going to go, and that's kind of why I think sort of a leg out here really helps sell the pose, because you've got this stuff here and this stuff here, and then adding a counterpoint to here really sells that. Yeah, that is stable. Just being that as is, I guess.
You can even do like a more horse-like pose where they tuck their hoof kind of inward, because horses they sit strange. Like if you ever look at a horse sit, it's like the leg comes out here and then it goes forward and then immediately comes back, kind of like a weird wing sort of situation. There's lots to play with. Lots to figure out. References. They have a lot of information.
References and life drawing and
Yeah.
just sketching really quickly, sketching references and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, it's super fun to just go and sketch real horse poses and real cat poses, and then be like, "Why the hell does that look like that?" And then you do it 16 times, and you're like, "Oh, maybe because of this." Okay.
Exactly. Like I know I kind of maybe I'm obnoxious about it, but I really truly do believe your answer can always be found in a reference, which is why I like to point people to like try to problem solve it a bit instead of just like getting a red line with the correct anatomy.
Mhm.
It's like try to look at it. What do you see?
Yeah.
How do you compare to your reference? Not in like,
It,
oh, that art's better than mine, but like, oh, that leg is thicker at the start where mine is
yeah,
the
yeah,
same
yeah.
size all the way through, kind of a.
It's all good to get answers, but yeah, to learn how to learn and search for those answers will get you a long way in developing the skills. So it's about like the completion of the picture versus your growth as an artist. Like if you just get like the answers as to how to fix something or trace or whatever, you're gonna like fix up the picture real quick, but it's not going to do that much in terms of developing your abilities. Versus like learning and studying stuff might take a bit longer, and it might not be the best thing for trying to immediately finish this piece to a completed degree, but it will go a long way to your sort of development.
Yeah.
But that being said, drawing is fun, and treat drawing as
Yes.
fun, and keep drawing.
Yeah.
Whatever
Yes.
gets you motivated to keep drawing is more important than like learning.
Yeah, that's rule number one.
When
Rule
it
number
comes
one.
down to it, learning can just get rooted.
If you do
And have
nothing
fun.
but that, and you're just desperate to I need to be as good as all these, like, don't worry, your art's fine. You've made a thing, and that's wonderful.
Exactly.
Things. Yeah.
All right, shall we move on to our next one?
Let's do it.
Mhm.
Where's
What's
oh mouse?
Hoss.
Hoss? Boss Hoss?
Oh, and Zom, there's one in the voice chat. I don't know if you
Yeah, I'll grab that one. It looks like they aren't in the actual talkie chat,
saw. No.
so we'll just go on to the next one that's already posted.
Yahoo.
Also, long time no see, Strato Joe.
Oh hey, hello.
So this picture is by. Man, I wish I remember stuff. Some critique.
It's by embroidered equations.
That's it.
In equations. Yeah.
It's kind of a
This
brutal
environment reminds me of like the old like Windows Maze screensaver.
Yes.
I
I'm
used to love
interested
that.
why everything's green.
It's very dungeony.
Is your dungeon green?
It sort of reminds me of the Terraria dungeons. You got like a green dungeon, a purple dungeon, and a blue dungeon. They're not quite this saturated though.
With a big old yellow glow stick.
It's a
It
grunge.
might be a.
Um,
It's what?
yeah.
Dungeon.
It's really interesting stylistically.
I think this
Compared
is
to
them
most
going
of the
for like a really big painterly piece, and I'm excited.
Mm-hmm. So
It's definitely very eye catching.
source says a very, very hurt wing.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely need to fix that. A little duct tape.
Needs a plaster. Hold on, where's my pen? I've lost it again. Oh goodness gracious!
Nice little band-aid. So
I was about to do that.
Perfect.
I was about to do that, but in color.
I think they had some specific questions, if I remember correctly. Been working on a painting while having no idea what I'm doing, so it's all on one layer and I'm scared of the background. So just after some general critique on the pone and vial of heliodryl, the glow stick on the ground, aka the weird glowing thing. Yeah, okay, on the ground. They said they had a reference. They didn't share, but if we need, I don't think they're here. So, yeah.
Mm.
I don't know what to do then.
I'd say don't be too scared of having your omissive things amiss really a lot. Like you've got what I see here is I see some neutrally colored light coming in from wherever she's looking. She's looking that way, and some light is like some very general sort of colored light is coming in from there. This glow stick, I see a little bit of like yellow stuff around, and maybe some stuff there, but I don't really see enough to point my eye towards it as something that is like missing and like creating a bunch of light around the scene. If you want people to sort of notice, hey, this is like a glowy thing, and it's glowing, and it glows, it can be a good idea to just ramp that up.
Mm-hmm.
I think because this is let me erase that. Because this is you've got like some fairly saturated yellows here, but what we're seeing over on these bits is like more of like a desaturated sort of a yellowy thing. I think that's sort of why I'm not quite getting the glowy feeling from that. So just saturating, yeah, even just like saturating these like a little bit really gives the idea that hey, this glowy thing is like glowing a lot. You can throw a little bit of glow up onto the walls and all that sort of stuff.
When you say a little glow up on the walls, I thought it was throw up and it was kind of disturbed. Continue on.
Yeah, no glow up, throw up. I just chucked one on there, make your piece a lot cooler. Yeah.
So looking at I have your piece up in Clip Studio Paint at the moment because I wanted to throw a black and white correction layer on it, or a grayscale correction layer, to take all the colors away. Because something you can do to help balance a picture is balance the values. And going back to like the glow stick and all the light spilling in from the glow stick, there is no pop whatsoever from the grays on the ground to the grays on the glow stick. It's so small that I even looking at your picture, it's very hard to distinguish it as its own thing. It's kind of blending into the textured walkway as like another stone. So I think that would be something to be careful of. Give it a reason to pop. Give it some shadows. It may be glowing, but you can still get some hard shadows from the light. And also, who's ever adding the darker background as well, um, that'll help pop the piece even more. While the piece already is somewhat popping, you can always push those values, make it pop more. It doesn't need to be all the detailed bricks in the background. You can make them phase out and be kind of blurry and undistinguished and darker, because the important thing's the character, right? Not the brick in the bottom left corner. So let's focus on making the character important to see.
It's super good to keep in mind that things that are either really lit up or really in shadow are really difficult to sort of make out. So, for example, all of these bricks back here, depending on like how dark you go with them, will depend on sort of how prominently you see this actual brick texture and all that sort of stuff on it. So you can accomplish two things. You can make it darker and make the whole piece pop a little bit more. But at the same time, you need to draw less texture because, hey, everything just fades into black and grungy darkness and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And as for the painting it all in one layer thing, that's totally viable, absolutely an option. But I'd say you're early enough on in the process where you can take, I don't know if Fire Alpaca has a lasso tool, but if you can trace around the outline of your pony and make the pony one layer and the background another layer, that might help things a bit, especially to keep things cleaner, a little bit cleaner, so you actually get nice edges for some of the stuff. Because despite Painterly being lineless, having edges in paintings is super duper important and really can help sell the painting. Um, So I mean, I would highly recommend doing that. If it were me, I would do that. You're early enough on where it won't destroy anything. At least I don't think so. And that way you can concentrate better and get that better pop on your background. And it should still marry together pretty nicely. You can always like merge it once you have a better blocking in of your background. But as
Mm.
things
It
stand, you could give yourself a little help there.
it definitely helps to pop everything out a bit. Because I was going to say as well, like the contrast values are something that you need to take into consideration, and like a technique used in painting, especially, but in all drawing really, especially that including backgrounds, is to create a sort of halo effect around a character to surround them and help them be drawn out from the background visually. So it's very much worth keeping into consideration when you're drawing.
All right. Anyone else?
Oh yeah, I was talking and I was like, why is LD talking over me? What the hell?
Oh, I'm
But
so
it's 'cause I
sorry.
Oh,
was
you
no.
were you muted?
But it's
Oh.
because I was muted. I was like, what?
Oh no, I've done that.
Everyone's
What I kind of would say is this is probably the point where you're going to get some big changes in feeling from looking at these like wide scale sort of changes in your piece. And a good thing to look at for that is to get like a really small version of your canvas.
Ooh, yeah.
You
I
could
know
even
those.
just like, you know, grab your picture on a like flatten into a new layer and then scale it down to like literally this kind of size on your canvas. And then, you know, you have your pony here or whatever, however it ends up looking. But then you basically just thumbnail on top of it. So, for example, this background sort of idea you've got, I've drawn over here. You just, you know, put a little bit of a boom, see how that goes. You make this yellow pop a little bit more by adding it around and doing this. And you just see sort of the overall balance of your picture from a distance by doing it on a really small version of your canvas. Because if it works on a really small version of your canvas, it's an indication that you can apply those sorts of wide scale changes to your actual piece and it'll do that sort of stuff. At least whenever I'm trying to like work something out, I tend to zoom out and look at it from really 1,000 kilometers back because it tends to help me focus on the large changes that are going to make a really big difference rather than the small changes.
That sounds reasonable.
Yeah.
It's something I was told by someone who used to be the PDF lot view. He always used to talk about work general to specific. So getting that real small thing, like pretty much not allowing yourself to even touch the details by being so small, is a really good. Like Pixie demonstrated a really great way to just figure out those big changes that sometimes a piece needs and to focus on the overall versus the specific.
Because like you do thumbnails for poses and for general sort of composition-y sort of stuff and all that sort of thing, but like you just do thumbnails for color and for shading in your piece and all that sort of stuff as well.
I know some
It's really
programs.
easy to because it's really easy to sort of get stuck in all the details and then you zoom out and then you tell someone else to look at it and that other person is like, I don't know what to look at. Like it looks cool, but like I don't get like the overall direction of the piece.
I remember one time there was someone getting critique and they spent like 2 hours doing changes and they're like, which version do you like better? And no one could pinpoint the changes they made because they zoomed into like this really, really small portion of the cheek and sort of added a little more blush there. And it's there's a point where small changes are absolutely ineffective. Absolutely, if you're into, I know some people are real into making art that you can zoom in and zoom in and zoom in and zoom in.
Yeah, I definitely have had many pictures where I've had like I sat there for like 30 minutes, like flicking backwards and back and forth between two different like options where there's like a 2% change in hue or something like that, and it's like it's such a minute difference. But like to me, I'm like this is a subtle thing, but I want it to be absolutely perfect. But like that's not the kind of thing that you would go to other people and be like this or this, and it's like virtually the same color. Like that's just the kind of thing that you got to flick back and forward with a little bit, and then like leave it, go away, do something else, come back with fresh eyes, have a look between them again, and you'll have a better idea. But details can definitely drown you. I agree.
Oh, there's one other thing I thought of. To just like the thumbnailing thing, I don't know if Firepaca can do this, but opening a canvas with the same picture, but have it zoomed out, up on your screen with the picture itself, so you constantly see the picture in its full view while you're also working on like the picture itself. So you kind of have that reminder of, are the changes actually having an effect, or is this just super duper detail work I'm getting stuck into, kind of as an active reminder. I've seen there's a bunch of tutorials for it for different programs, but it's pretty fun and cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Shall we move on to our last submitted picture?
Let's do that thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Keep up the good work, Em. Can't wait to see.
Keep up. It's always so fun to see the new pictures and be like, what the hell? When did you learn this?
Yeah, I know, right? I always admire your will to
True.
experiment. Like, that's my favorite thing to see in an artist, is like the want to experiment.
It is inspiring.
Yes.
Where do you find the time in the day? All right. So this last picture has been submitted by Petricor.
Yeah.
Petrichor?
Yeah, something like that.
Whatever that means.
They have asked, wondering how I can change the perspective to make it seem like he really is in the cake and not suddenly pop out of it, making it clear he was on another layer.
Yeah, that confused me a little bit. Some elaboration might help.
So I'm wondering what color would be more appropriate for the background.
Also wondering how I can make the cake seem more like a cake. I would say something that could help is just angling it slightly from above. So rather than having it straight side on, you have it like, it doesn't have to be massively like looking down at the cake, but just like ever so slightly like, oh look, here's a cake. Oop, this is a very wonky cake. This is probably the kind of cake that I would make if I actually tried to bake something. But here's a cake, and here's the top of it. Because then it just makes it a little bit easier to see what's going on. Because you've got all the detail there, the frosting and cherries and everything. That's exactly what you need in terms of detail. There's really not much else that is required. You could have like sometimes cakes have like sort of a ribbon around the middle. You could maybe do that, but otherwise, it's you got the point across. It's just if you're not sure that the shape is really giving the impression that you want, then that's an option. Is just make it a 3D shape.
Like a box from front on perfectly on the horizon is always going to look like a square, like how I've drawn here. Like that. The only thing that changes that is, like Fluffy's saying, is the direction of the shape. If drawing circles are an issue at angles and perspective and whatnot, there's actually I was actually looking at my DA today, and there was a perfect how to draw circles in perspective. It's such an easy art hack. If you can draw a square or a box in perspective, you can draw a circle or an oval or whatever in perspective. Let me copy the picture. Boom. I'll just grab it. Let me copy the picture. No? Is DeviantArt like dumb now?
Sometimes you can't, depending on settings. I guess it's weird, but yes, DeviantArt's dumb now. That's the question.
So This is the trick. This post is by never pronounce anything. Where's the DA? Where did I put the DA?
So thank you to never pronounce anything.
The E13 brothers on DA, they have this whole series on how to think. If you basically Google how to think when you draw, you will find so many fun little. I like them because they're like little snack tutorials. They're like little tidbits, little like tips and tricks for art. It's not like a full drawn out thing. It's just like, oh yeah, here's a 2-second read. Anyway, great stuff. I have 2 of their books. It's pretty fun. But yeah, it's pretty simple, right? You make your box, you trace out an X, and then you draw your curves, and voila, circle.
I will say, getting to the point of having, you know, the box with these, with boom boom, final center, boom boom. Getting to this point is one thing, and then drawing the curves on them to look decent, it's a little bit of a skill. So don't be too scared if you get to sort of the point with the X and the boxes, and then adding the curves. Is a bit of a challenge. Don't worry about it, because I did graphics for a few years in school, like the sorts of things that like architects and stuff do, where like you learn how to do this sort of stuff. It takes time to get it down. So don't be too scared. Along with those sort of tips from the F13 brothers. I forgot who they are, but they're really good. Draw a box.
Yes.
Also uses the same methods in terms of building up your skills at drawing lines accurately between 2 points, and then using that to sort of build up drawing squares, and then helping you find how to do these shapes and do them at like any angle really nicely. And then no matter what weird bloody perspectives you put on, and then they also go through the building up the circles from that and stuff like that. So doing them is also pretty good. Yeah. And I've drawn a little gummy there with the cake tilted a bit to show it off.
Should probably zoom out so they can see what you just posted.
Yeah.
Madman.
I forgot what their Twitter pages, but they always post like really cool things like this.
And they share tutorials from like all different artists, and like they're really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, artists sharing free stuff.
I know, right?
I love it.
And like you don't even have to buy their books. All of the resources, they have a website that stores all of these little tutorials, as well as they're like on DeviantArt, Twitter, whatever.
If you want a link, poke us on Discord.
Yes.
Poke.
It might even be in the tutorial channel. I think I posted their website a while ago, but I could be wrong.
And we have CPC and a cake there.
That's me.
No, but CPC is stuck inside the cake.
Oh.
Let's move on to our next one. Whoop,
A
wait
new
a big.
picture.
We got another picture. Weird, right? It's like we accept pictures.
It's DOP.
It is DOP.
Hello, DOP.
Me. Come on. Oh, right. It's going to do this thingy again. You can't paste the same file name twice. It forces you to paste another file and then you can go back to
Wow.
pasting the original. Yeah,
Okay, that's really contrived.
a little bit, yeah. All right. So this is by DOP, and they're mostly wondering about shading. I'll be back in just a quick moment if you guys can get this.
All
Yeah.
right. Oh no.
So shading. First point. Congratulations, you tried shading.
Yeah.
Because it is a very difficult thing. I'm not particularly good at it, so.
Shading's tough. It's tough.
The bullow's glowy.
Ball. It's very glowy. It's very nice. I know Picarto's giving, or I mean, Aggie's giving me problems, so I can't draw right now. So I'd say, have you done any like shading studies or practices with basic shapes, like shading a ball, a cube, a cylinder, and a cone, stuff like that? Because something is like it's really great to keep drawing ponies and shading them and stuff, but something really helpful is to practice on those shapes and just no color, black and white, whatever. You can use color if you want. I mean, like, have fun. I know sometimes people get overwhelmed with too much choice, but anyway, practicing on those simple shapes can be one of the best ways to improve your shading. And there's so many resources out there that you can slap a 3D shape and throw a light on it and, physically see how the shading works and how you can figure it out and having that reference. So if shading is something you want to learn, I really do highly recommend doing those basic exercises. Picking things up and learning and how you as you go is also very valid. I know a lot of us do it all the time, but if there's a particular thing you want to kind of nail down and work at, some of these little exercises can be really, really helpful to kind of pick up the idea on how things get shaded. Lots of like studies and stuff. I find them fun. I find like finding artists that you like the shading of and trying to learn and break it down and figure out how the shading works and how it feels and stuff like that can really help the development of the skill.
I think you've done pretty good. I like it. It's good. On the non-shading points, or point, this area. Let me choose a thing. This area around the jaw is a bit of a difficult one. What I can say is that while this draw does end up sort of connecting with this with the ear and all that sort of thing, it can be good to hide that a bit. So, for example, this whole shape, just slowly sort of fade it out and make it a bit less noticeable, that sort of stuff. In general, just because it'll help your pictures feel a little bit more together and all that sort of stuff. Help the jaw and the face and the neck and stuff feel like they're a bit more together. With the, let me erase all this. Erase. Because the ear is sort of getting covered by the hair a bit, what I would do is just have a bit more shading in there. Maybe a little bit shown there, but especially sort of the inside of the ear would probably be a pretty dark place, considering the ball's light probably has no way to get in there. And sort of around their back and that sort of stuff, you could also shade that a bit more in terms of just making it a little bit more explicitly dark, because the ball's lighting isn't really going to wrap around the pony and get there unless you want to add more light sources or something like that. Similar thing, just a little bit more. The hair would be in shadow, I think. it's pretty much a lot of this is just don't be scared to really go into and push the shading. It always feels a bit scary when you're putting down like really heavy shadow layers, but really heavy shadow layers can help your piece out a lot and helps you feel more confident as an artist when people look at your pictures. Yeah, push the darks, exactly. Push the lights and push the darks. But I will say that the stuff that's being lit up by the ball, it looks pretty good. I like it. You've done that really well. With those basic exercises. Ali, what Ali is doing up here, I think that's Ali.
Yes.
That's super helpful. Really knowing sort of the contours of what you're shading helps so much in like showing you and explaining sort of what you can really dig into in terms of putting shadows on versus what's going to be mid-tones and all that.
Mm-hmm. Like if my light source is the ball up front, the whole idea of drawing these little lines and where they curve is you can kind of this is a basic. You can put more lines basically that kind of graph out the whole shape of the head, making little boxes, kind of making it polygonal, breaking it down to the base edges you could see. Because it's a lot of lighting is about edges, what edges catch the light, right? So with let me grab a different color. So a lot of what's gonna come from this ball here is gonna hit certain boxes. Only the fronts of boxes, maybe only a pinch up here, just along the rims of the ears. Little edges are gonna catch and fade out. Cause like the idea of shading a ball really helps with fading out those shadow edges because a ball is smooth and round, so it has a different edge. It's a soft edge versus like a rectangle, which will have a hard cutoff, or not a rectangle, like a box. It'll have a hard cutoff where the light hits and where it doesn't hit. So that's why like I always recommend the little shape exercises. I know I know these exercises are tedious, but if it's like your vegetables. Sometimes you gotta eat them just a little bit. Just a little bit of vegetable.
Only veggies are good. What are you talking about?
What did I miss?
Vegetables, lots of vegetables.
Oh,
What have I done?
tasty ones?
All veggies tasty. Oh, no, maybe not, but
I mean, if you don't want to do the exercises, you don't have to. It's just something I highly recommend. Feel free.
Yeah.
Like, if I don't know. I don't know what to say. It's personally
like I don't really do a lot of the sort of like study exercises, but it doesn't mean that they're not like helpful to some degree, or they wouldn't help you. Like it's at least worth checking out.
It's basically the point of this. All of it is shading a circle is a lot easier than shading like a head for a pony. The contour lines on a ball look like boom, boom. Contour lines on a head are like boom, 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 or maybe boom, or maybe a
and
bit
then
of
they
boom.
wiggle out, and then they go in, and there's a dip here, and then there's.
And it's like this. Yeah, it's not too bad. This, it's like I would draw the screaming person from art here, but I will represent them with this. Look at the screaming Sweetie Belle gif, and then that's me drawing contour lines on a pony head.
Okay. You don't even need to draw the boxes. Do reference studies because you're saying how you really like realistic styles. Grab yourself an actual horse, and without drawing lines, just try to paint in the shadows. Like you're just using strokes. You're filling things in. It's a very painterly way to do things. Of course, you can do like gesture drawings to get like the things into place, but painting in those shadows will be a great lesson. Observing the actual horse you're staring at in the image versus what you're drawing. Great way to learn like shading and shapes. If the small basic shapes are not to our taste.
And then at the end of the day, whatever keeps you motivated. And if all this sort of thing doesn't keep you motivated and drawing ponies does, just go and draw ponies. Like, just ignore everything. It's all good. It's
think
fine.
that-
Don't worry about it.
That little snippet of advice can be used everywhere.
Yeah,
Just go
pretty
draw
much.
ponies.
For me, this stuff's hard and this stuff's easy. And so I grab my sketchbook and I start sketching this sort of thing. And I'm like, oh, I really like drawing. I really love drawing. And then I start drawing a pony and I'm like, oh my God, I hate drawing.
Exercises
Yeah.
like are really great for that though, like little warm-up ones. That's why I love drawing circles and boxes and stuff. It kind of gets my arm loosened up and I get more motivated because it's like, yeah, I can handle this. Now let's put
I
them
haven't tried
together.
that. I just draw like a badly drawn pony and like, well, okay, I've got the junk out of my arm. Thanks for all this
That's
stuff.
my two favorite exercises are probably this, where I'll draw a light source and then a bunch of shapes around it, and then just try to light the shapes, and the drawer box style planes and this sort of stuff because it's just fun.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of
I
mindless
like your
tracing stuff.
See, it might be mindless, but you're like fitting in several different things in just that one practice exercise. You're getting lighting, you're getting dimension, you're getting, perspective, you're getting just line practice as well, because line control to get those shapes in. It's funny how much a simple exercise can impact so much.
Yeah.
Do you got any further questions for us on this one? Or any in general? No? Okay. So just draw pony, eh? All right. Well, anyone else have any other questions they'd like to ask? Any other horses they'd like critiqued? Any other commissions they'd like to send our way? Please ask now, or you'll have to wait a full week because we disappear.
Ask now.
Yeah,
forever
we all
hold
just
your
go into the
pony.
void for a week.
Yep.
Dang, Ellie. That head is good.
Thank you.
Flair, you're like share something, questions or picture you're doing, or just comments.
If you have questions, we're always happy to take questions. It's like we always say, it's like this is for y'all. So if there's something y'all want, we can do our best.
Lots of little squiggly hearts everywhere.
Horse.
Of course, of course.
Horse.
I haven't done that. Like, doing this little pony head really, really, really makes me want to get a black sketchbook. Like, I really, really want to just get some colored pencils and just.
Allie,
I haven't.
you
done
should get
this
a
in so
black
long.
sketchbook.
I should. I have all these colored pencils, and they're like just sitting there
it.
mocking me.
Do it. Do
I
it.
still need to do watercolor and sew and
Do it.
knit, and there's too many things.
Do it all. Do it
There's
all.
too many things I want to do.
All right. Under the Gummy, we have one by Flare Horizon. This, I was just wondering how I did, I suppose. I think I did pretty well, but wanted to know if there's any bits I didn't shade right. I'd say you did pretty well. It's a horse. It's a horse with soft lighting on it. It's a horse
Yeah,
who needs a boot.
A cutie.
you drew a thing, and that means you did well.
Yes. I think what the only bit that really stands out to me personally, I mean, just from looking at it, is the cheek would be more. It's like so I'm trying to sort of like outline how the light would hit it. There's more of a pudge here, I think. So that would be more like pushed forward outwards rather than as a dip, if that makes sense. That's just my personal. I'm not sure if that's actually correct because I'm bad at drawing shading.
No,
So.
you're not bad at drawing. I would absolutely agree. Like you can almost think of the cheek like a shelf, right? Like in the basics, like super
Yeah.
basic geometry. It's like a little shelf. Shelf with a curve.
At the very least, you could sort of. If I can get the different colors. If you really did want to accentuate there being sort of a gap here, you could, but I honestly don't. I honestly think it would just be connected.
Mm.
And that just sort of like highlights the face a bit better. Like you don't have to worry too much about putting a lot of shadow on this side of the face because it's got to be like in focus.
With this, what am I doing? With these areas, boom, boom, boom. What I've done is I've just made them a bit darker. So just push the shadows on them, both because the darkest tone you've got here in your original drawing is sort of this color, and while it's a fine color, you've still probably got like half of the value range you can sort of go darker into, and because these sort of back legs aren't really a different color than the belly and all that sort of stuff in front of it, it's a little bit difficult to sort of tell that they are a different part of the pony. And so you've got all that value range to push into. So boom, boom. You're using more of the value range, and you've got a little bit more differentiation between the front, the more forward and the more back bits. And you can also just push that value range into here as well. And as Fluffy mentioned, you can make the cheek a little bit more, a little bit lighter, because it's kind of like this bit of the cheek sort of pushes out a bit. You'll see it with that sort of a thing. An interesting area to keep in mind is sort of the top of the nose. So sort of this area in particular, because it is like a pretty, it is a crease there, and creases tend to go a little bit darker, just because of like where two planes hit each other. It'll just like the light will naturally sort of kind of half get trapped between them and all that sort of stuff. So you can push that a little bit darker around that bridge of the nosy sort of area. However much you want to push that or whatever. I'll pull the bottom of the neck up a little bit. And it's good to keep in mind that whenever wherever you have an area like this, where you've got this sort of definite change in color between two areas, what you're saying, what you're describing there, is that, let me make my pen smaller. What you're describing is that you've got like a plane here and a similar sort of a plane here, and then in the middle there's like a big dip. There's like a big change in terms of if we were looking at it from top down, got the belly, and then this really big dip, and then the thigh there. And so what I can do to sort of make that not look like as much of like a dip, and to make the belly sort of area, this sort of area here, and this sort of area more connected, is I can just go in with a bit of a low opacity brush and just add some like more similar colors there, and then it looks a little bit more like it's this whole torso blob is sort of one contiguous shape rather than this shape and this shape stitched together. Let's add some similar sorts of things around and about the place. But in general, and it's also good to keep that same thing in mind for when the cheek sort of back of the jaw transitions into the neck. You've got a similar sort of thing, because you tend to, if you look at the pony figurines and general pony 3D models and that sort of stuff, there tends to be a very smooth transition there. And so if you can reflect that kind of smooth transition in the lighting as well, it'll help represent the smooth nature of that sort of area a lot better. You'll tend to see these sorts of harsh creases and stuff when the pony is sort of looking one way or looking the other way, and then you'll see like the harsh creases come down. But if they're just generally looking forward, you'll see a little bit more of a smooth transition there. But really cool. I like the shading. I like the I like the difference between this and this. It's always fun to see people at different stages or trying different things and all that. It looks good.
Mm-hmm.
Very much agree.
Yeah. Yeah, don't stress too much. All this is all of this sort of stuff is stuff that you as you do more of it, and as you sort of mess with it more, it'll just come naturally. So don't stress too much. You'll figure out the best ways to incorporate this sort of advice into your work. You find your own middle ground and your own way of shading. Yeah. That's actually why I really like messing with Blender and sculpting a little bit on Blender, and then lighting up that, because that lets me really easily see, oh, this is where the light goes and this is where the light doesn't go. I see.
I feel like if any artist has the opportunity to, they should most definitely pick up a 3D medium of some kind and try it out. Because I know the spatial awareness really opened up for me when I could get my hands on something or craft something in a 3D space, and like just kind of get a feel for something different than just putting it in the brain. Like when you I don't know. There's many different types of people, many different types of ways to learn, many different feelings you kind of get. Sometimes it's something you develop, like a sense. You get a sense of things, you get a sense of art, you get a sense of form, you get a sense of yada yada yada. And just working with those 3D things help connect that sense. Like if you try sculpting, like go buy some cheap clay, like a brick of Sculpey or air dry clay, and just kind of like try to craft a pony head. See how it goes. See how your understanding of that 3D space goes when you actually are working in 3D space. Or like Blender's free. You can learn the program. I'm much more of a tactile person, so I would edge on the clay side, but yeah. Yeah, blue tack, white tack. You could even use your kneadable eraser. It doesn't have to be like a serious, well thought out sculpted thing. It's just getting those ideas and those forms in actual 3D space to kind of get your understanding.
It's super good. It's super hard to sort of build up a sense of sort of 3D space in your head and sort of understand how all that comes together. And yeah, sculpting really helped me with that. And like years and years of being in school and drawing 3D boxes on a perspective
planes and all that sort of stuff also helped a whole lot. But
It's all training. There's so many different types of training. You just gotta find the one right for you.
exactly. And if you've already found it, awesome.
Hell yeah.
Heck yeah.
I guess any other questions, any other critiques, any other ponies that deserve hugs?
All horses deserve hugs.
That's the stance. That's our political stance right here and now. You've heard it here.
Hot take.
Well, not all horses.
Not all.
I won't say, but not all.
Rude. All right, well, that seems to be us. So thank you all for coming, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.
See ya.